I'm going to speak now about EUPolarNet 2, which is a coordination and support action which has been tasked by the European Commission to identify European polar research priorities, which then can be, these priorities have to be aligned with the EU policies, of course, like the new Arctic strategy or the All Atlantic Ocean Research Alliance. And we, in form of this project, we are really working on supporting them by identifying their call text, for example, and other high priority areas. Next, please. Next. Yeah. EUPolarNet is a continuation. We are now in the second phase, and EUPolarNet 2, and the consortium includes all European countries who are performing a significant amount of polar research. You see it spanning all over Europe. And as I said before, our ambition is to co-develop together with stakeholders and advance European polar research in many ways. In addition, we are supposed to give policy advice. And very important, at the end of the project, the European Polar Coordination Office will be established, which will continue with the work that EUPolarNet 2 has done, also in a sustained way in the future. Next, please. The whole project is built around prioritization of polar research needs, but it is, of course, structured in several objectives. All these objectives still are aligned in a way that they are supporting the development of research themes or even the further support by funding agencies of polar research needs. So what we are going to do, and I will go quickly through this, we will improve the coordination. We will work together with stake and right holders, involve them in defining the research needs, and also develop strategies how you can better engage with this group of people. We are, as I said, prioritizing research transdisciplinary and transnationally. Very new and most likely very important is also that we are working with funding agencies, so national funding agencies of the EU member states, to develop synergies in between them and also discuss how we can better optimize the use of resources. As I said before, we will provide evidence-based advice. A special topic included in EUPolarNet 2 is the support to the sustained observation system in the Arctic and Antarctic. And then finally, of course, the outcome shall be this European Polar Coordination Office. Next, please. We are not doing this all alone in the project. So the concept of EUPolarNet is to utilize as much information as possible, which we can gather, for example, from EU and national polar strategies, of course, from the legacy of EUPolarNet 1. And we are working a lot together, as much input from society into the research prioritization process. Next. Next, yeah. Actually, EUPolarNet 2 is working as a kind of platform, and within this platform we are developing different tools to improve the process. Tools are like regular webinars, for example. Will soon launch a interaction platform, but we are also discussing and evaluating the possibility of a regularly occurring European Polar Science Conference. All these tools who should lead to better coordination, but also to joint definition of research themes, are tested and evaluated, and at the end will be then the basis of the European Polar Coordination Office. Next, please. Which will then stand at the end of the project. Next slide, please. Going a bit more in detail so that you understand what we are doing, and my aim is not only to introduce the project here, but also to make you aware where you can engage with us, because the whole project is meant to engage with the scientific community to get their input into our process. So we are not doing the research prioritization in an inclusive environment, but we are hoping that many European polar scientists will contribute to this process. Important to develop such a process is also better coordination and especially informing the polar community about what is going on in their neighbor countries in terms of polar research. What are the activities? That's what we're doing in the polar research coordination team. So we aim to better inform. We also aim to better liaise with international partners and programs. And we are also within this topic coordinating the EU Polar Cluster, which is a network of currently 24 polar programs funded within the framework program 7 Horizon 2020 program, and 2 independent partners, which are the European Polar Board and the Svalbard Integrated Earth Observing System. Next, please. I touched this in the beginning. So the research which we would like to develop, so the ideas, the themes to put forward to the EU are based on societal needs. We did this already in EUPolarNet 1, and we will continue this. So that means we will collect research and innovation needs from stake and right holders in workshops, in online consultation, and so on. In addition, we are also trying to improve the interaction with the stakeholders. We have published a white paper on this in EUPolarNet 1, and we will also like to support capacity building, especially, of course, also in the indigenous communities and for early career researchers. Next, please. Then the core theme is the research prioritization process. You see here the picture of the European Polar Research Program, which EUPolarNet has developed in its first phase. And our research prioritization is also mainly based on this document. And what we are doing here, I will show you in a bit more detail, because this is really the key part where we need also your input. So we try to develop strategies to advance polar research. We also are supposed to support and identify and support large-scale polar research initiatives which can benefit from our help. And we also seeking input from the community by providing service contracts as a kind of seed money to ask the community to develop ideas. Next, please. And how do we do this the prioritization of polar research action? So we have just implemented a polar expert group of more than 150 experts from all over Europe. They will help us in customizing research teams and formulating projects which can be, for example, funded as a call by the European Commission or other funding agencies. But so the most important thing is to make out these, to condense the overarching themes which we have identified in the European Polar Research Project into action which are really implementable. So more specific, more targeted. We will do this with the Polar Expert Group, then, as I mentioned before, in cooperation with our stakeholder work package by organizing several online consultations, but also transdisciplinary workshops with stake and right holders. And of course, we will also include the results of the service calls. I will explain to you in a minute a bit more. Next, please. Next, please. Okay, so to give you a bit more information about the calls for services, because might be interesting for you to apply for it. We have had a first round of calls for services where we asked for research ideas related to 2 of the 6 themes of the EPRP, the European Polar Research Program. These calls were related to the themes prospering communities in the Arctic and inclusive creation and access of knowledge. This is closed now, and next year we will open another call with 2 other topics from the EPRP. And the calls are not supposed to fund research. I have to make it absolutely clear, but they are supposed to fund the development of ideas together with stakeholders, for example. So we are supporting projects by granting them up to 15,000 euro for example, workshops or desk studies. But what we are not doing is we are not funding any ongoing research. That's absolutely clear. So what we want to achieve with these service contracts is that the community gets together and that they identify based on their expertise what needs to be done and supported in the future. Next, please. And then finally, the last thing of importance is, as I mentioned before, we have also a work package led by the Norwegian Research Council, which is initiating a cooperation with funding agencies. We will soon publish a directory of the funding agencies in Europe and how they are working and what they are funded. We will have regular workshops with funding agencies, and we also are selecting studies, pilot studies, which we will develop further in cooperation with funding agencies. These are mainly related to infrastructure sharing or optimal use of infrastructures. And next. To show you also that this process which we are doing is successful and that we have achieved a lot, at least in the last 5 years, is shown here on this slide. Shown are the 5 EU-PolarNet white papers on high priority research needs, which we published in 2018. And above are mentioned the calls from the European Commission, who picked the topics up in their calls in 2020 and 2019. So 4 of the 5 white paper are already reflected in calls. The 4th one, the one on humanities and social sciences, has not had an own call, but all the other calls were requested to cooperate with social scientists and also take care that the recommendations of this white paper are implemented. So I only want to tell you that engagement can be worthwhile with EUPolarNet. And the last slide, please. If you would like to get further information, then please visit us on our webpage or sign up to our newsletter. So there you also get the information for the upcoming calls for services. Thank you very much.